is Aeternum Radio, broadcasting from the peaks of Shattered Mountain to the New World.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Aeternum Radio. I'm Slacker, joined by my host BigPapa.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
And unfortunately, no Ruko today. But he sends his regards. He is actually out on the road and traveling. But we wanted to make sure we keep giving content out to you guys once a week. And so we're dedicated. We were having a ton of fun putting this together. We've gotten a really great reception. And we look forward to doing many, many more of these. You can listen to this podcast by watching us on Twitch at The Slacker Project or by joining us on Discord. There'll be a link to that Discord channel in the description of this podcast. Doing so means that you can catch up with us. You can ask us questions after the show. Typically, we keep chatting and we talk about additional thoughts that we have. You can ask questions. We can get comments from the audience and all sorts of stuff like that. So if you want to get involved, that's the way to do it. We are playing in the closed beta. So if you want to join our company and you want to be involved with what we're doing in New World, you can also do that through the same Discord. Aeternum Radio is available wherever podcasts can be heard, including our Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and even on YouTube. And today, we've got some pretty fun stuff to talk about. So we'll start by going over the news. There's no big announcements from the top this time around, but some kind of fun milestones that we've hit as a game and as a community. Then we're going to talk our core feature review we want to be talking about today is the crafting and economics of New World, or at least our first impressions of it. So we'll talk about what it is, how we've engaged with it so far, and where we hope it will go here in the future. And then we're going to be introducing a new segment, which is called Stories from Aeternum, where we're going to be talking about things that have happened inside Aeternum that have just gotten us pumped up. We've talked a lot on this show how what makes a game really great is your ability to step away from it and tell really great stories from what happened. So, for example, we're big fans of Sea of Thieves, and every time we get on there, we always feel like we have stories to tell coming out the other end of it. We want to do the same thing with Aeternum. If the game can deliver those kinds of experiences, we want to be able to tell them as well. Finally, we'll end it with an opinion segment about what it takes to make a meaningful impact within Aeternum. It's a very living, breathing world, and we're going to get a little bit more into that later in the show. So, we've had about a week full of closed beta. BigPapa, the big question is, now the initial lusting, if you will, after New World has subsided, how do you feel about the game?
I'm enjoying it. I keep finding reasons to log back on and play, and every time I do, there's lots to do. There's a good amount of decisions to make in regards to what do I want to do today. And even this week, I've been pretty busy this week with just work and family and whatnot, but I haven't played as much as I would like, but I keep wanting to come back. So yeah, I'm having a lot of fun. I actually think one of the coolest things about it right now is it feels alive. You know, there's so many players playing, and I'm constantly running into people and meeting new people and fighting new people, and that's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to see that in an MMO, you know, because that's what an MMO should be.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that you hit the nail on the head too when you talk about it being that it's what we wanted, that life in the game, and perhaps that's just because we're in that launch phase, we're in that early beta, but there's really a lot going on. And when you log on, the map has changed. New territories have been taken, new crafting stations have been built. It just feels more dynamic than an MMOs I've played in the past.
Yeah, I agree. It's awesome logging in and seeing the territory shift in the different colors and just seeing the changes and the evasions that are happening. It feels alive, not just with the player base and the active community inside the game, but the actual game itself as players are making their decisions and their actions as a groups. It's cool to see, like, even in our Discord alone, you know, people are asking, like, hey, when's that next evasion again? When's the war again for so-and-so territory? And it's, you know, there's things to look forward to, things to constantly try to participate in. So it's fun.
Yeah. Yep, I agree. I've been having a good time. I will even say, though, I agree with everything you said, but some of the gaps are starting to be revealed to me. So some of the things that just feel a little frustrating now that I've put, a good chunk of hours into it. Now I'm starting to see some of the parts that I'm like, ooh, I hope they fix this by launch.
Well,
I hope there's
explain.
a mailing system by launch. Well, we're going to get into that here at we'll get into our future review. I kind of geared this episode so I could talk about my pain points when playing the game. Is that selfish? Yes. Can I do it anyway? Yes.
Oh, I'm sure you've got lots to say. This is a huge deal for you, especially,
This will be a complaining session. No, it won't. It won't be a complaining session, but I mean, Ruko's not here. I get extra mic time, so let's just go nuts.
Well, I feel like I'm complaining every episode about something. I mean, there's something to complain.
Yeah, you complain a lot. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, there's always something to complain about, and you got to be critical as well. I
agree.
I'm enjoying it overall. There's definitely things that could be better, and there's definitely things that I'm critical of. But overall, it's been a good experience, and I'm looking forward to launch. Honestly, that's now I'm like thinking, okay, what else do I need to do during this beta to prepare myself and the company we're running for launch, right? And we discussed that a little bit earlier today. Right now, it's just recruiting for the most part,
right?
But there's still so many things that I haven't done yet in this beta in the game that I would like to do.
None of the end world content. Haven't been to Shattered Mountain. Haven't been to any of those zones up in the north.
I haven't even fished yet.
I haven't even touched them.
I haven't even fished yet.
I just started fishing, and I caught a legendary fish.
Yeah, you were just talking about that. Go ahead and explain how that went for you.
Yeah, let me tell you, because this happened. This is our first Tales of Aeternum. I'm going to save it. I'm going to save it for our Tales segment.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, good call.
Because it's my best story, and it just happened.
That's your best story? Really?
No, it's not my best story, but I'm going to tell it anyway.
It's a cool one.
Because it's exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, let's dive into our news for today. Just so that everybody is aware, New World is crushing it. It hit over, I think we've now capped over 200,000 concurrent players, and this is the closed beta. So that's a pretty big milestone. Yes, we are in the honeymoon phase, but it's a good. This is a good position for New World to be in right now. If you are a big fan of watching stuff on Twitch drops are currently running. If you watch some of the content creators for an hour, you can get a new armor cosmetic that will be available at launch. Looks pretty cool, and it's a pretty interesting. What's the word? Another interesting hook that they have with New World is that it's going to be integrated into Twitch pretty handily. The closed beta does end August 2nd. So we got one more week?
Yeah.
One more week of game time, and we hit about level 25, so we gotta up our game if we're gonna get to 60 before.
Oh wow, yeah, we still have another week.
Before it's over, which I don't think that's gonna happen because I gotta move. If you're watching here on Twitch, my whole office is empty. We got to move. You're busy.
I'm about to have a baby.
Hit it.
Right, so there's that.
This is a good time for us. This is a good time for beta to end and give us a little bit of a break and a breather before the launch starts up.
Yeah.
But we've learned a lot, and I think that just if you've played in the closed beta, it's giving you a good idea of what you want to do when the game launches. Particular markets you want to go after, particular crafting trees you want to run down, and. Well, let's talk about that. Okay, so let's talk about our main feature for today. Last news I have is that releases on August 31st. If you're not aware, be aware. August 31st is the release of New World, and then it'll be good to go.
Do you think they're going to push it back at all?
No, but I do have another question, though, to kind of go with that. How much playtime do you think is in this game for the community? How long do you think it'll take before the community goes, okay, now what?
Yeah.
When are we going to be waiting for the next big patch? When are we going to be saying, like, all right, well, we've done this territory war a bunch. Now what?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? When is that going to happen? I don't know. I think that World of Warcraft, you typically was running 6 months, half a year, maybe 3/4 of a year before they would drop major content patches. And I think that will define New World going forward, is how often they release new content into the game. How often before we get new zones? Do we get an expansion pack ever? Or is it like, it'll be really interesting to see how it unfolds. So.
Right. Well, like we were talking about, there's still a lot that we have not touched yet in the game. I think I was watching a clip of Asmongold, and he was laughing about how he's already put 125 hours into the game or something in beta. I think there's a lot to do, and even once you hit in game, the fluctuating of the territories, the even the PvE dungeons they have, and the outpost rushes and all those things, I think it's going to give you a lot to do if you enjoy playing the game, if you enjoy the combat, and you enjoy the kind of the politics of the game and the group play. I think you're gonna have a lot to do in game, even without content drops regularly. But you're right; it's important. Go ahead.
Let me build on that too, because I think that one of the things that is really great for me is that I love playing.
Yeah,
just like. The combat system is fun.
Yeah.
Like hunting things in the forest is fun. So I'm enjoying, even if there's like a boar and I'm running from point A to point B, oftentimes I will choose not to fast travel just because I want to do gathering and farming and hunting along the path. And so it's enjoyable just to play the game. And the combat is fun to play. It's fun to, knock an arrow and let it fly and hit something super far away and kill it well before it ever gets to you. That's really satisfying. It's something I didn't get in WoW. Don't get me wrong, when I play World of Warcraft, there are times when like I pick up a new class and I'm running through the rotation, like, great, this is fun. But I've played all the classes I want to play in World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
That has become very stale to me now, even with the new rotations, the new talents, and new specs. This is really fresh, and the mechanics of the game feel really good, and that makes me really excited.
Well, I'm finding the pacing to be pretty good too. Like, I was surprised at how long, and I mentioned this in our last podcast, but I was surprised at how long it's taking to level up my weapons. I'm just getting over the level 10 humps for my two main weapons with the amount of time I put in. I haven't looked at how much time I put into the game yet, but it takes a while. You have to really dedicate and farm that to really get up there. And I have my ultimate, passive in rapier, but I have like one more level to go to get it in musket, and so I'm trying to just farm that musket as much as possible. But then there's the economy of like I gotta have a steady supply of cartridges,
munitions.
Iron's easy, but I'm using steel now. I don't want to go back to iron, so it's like I want that I have to constantly keep myself either buy that or craft it myself, and I've been mostly crafting it myself. But anyway, the progression has seemed steady. It seems like it's at a good pace that I'm going to want to keep putting more hours into this to get to that end goal with my weapons, to get to max weapon level.
Yeah, and even those times when I feel like I've hit a bit of a lull, like I've just finished a main story quest, and then the next quest is going to be like 2 territories over. I'm like, oh, barf, I don't want to go all the way over there right now. I just run around town, pick up a bunch of quests, and I'm like, I'm just going to run this circle. And then that circle is like an hour and a half of me like doing some PvP fights, doing quests, gathering more stuff, and be like, oh, what can I do with this? Catching legendary fish, Man,
if you find yourself getting bored in this game, flag for PvP if you haven't already. I mean, that's like, I will sometimes unflag because I want to get a main quest line done and I don't want to be bothered, and I'm just trying to get some stuff done. I don't want to have to focus on that. But if I'm feeling like there's some downtime, I'm like, I don't really know what to do flag for PvP, get a couple quests and go out there and just try to kill everyone you see and practice that. It's a ton of fun. You were just saying like it's fun to play this game. I'm with you. The combat is a lot of fun. I think there's some things they can tweak to make it better in certain aspects. I haven't even played all the weapons. Like I've only played 2 weapons this entire, besides the sword and shield, which you start with. But I focus on 2 weapons this whole time, and I'm still having a ton of fun. And if I ever got to max level and got bored with these, I could switch. And there's so many other weapons, there's a lot in this game that that is keeping me entertained, for sure.
So there's one more thing I also want to mention before we get on topic.
Right.
Is that I remember how we were talking about before. I think I mentioned that World of Warcraft, when it first came out, was in a different era because we didn't have social media. And so it really was a social hook that really grabbed a lot of people and pulled them in really addictively. I feel that to add to what you're saying, like, if you're bored with the game, flag for PvP. Let me add one more to that. If you're bored with the game, get involved with your faction.
Yeah.
Get involved with where people are like, hey, who's taking a territory? Who needs some help? I put your hand up. Like, I'm happy to come help you guys do your quests or whatever you need.
Who's doing corruption portals and all that, right?
Yeah. Just having the fact that you have your own little faction chat has been, I think I've seen a lot more socialization coming out of it, and people wanting to party up and group up, because it's a whole lot of fun to be in a group of PvPers and come across another group of PvPers,
Yeah.
So that's this whole social game of it, I think has been drawn back in a way that's like, hey, people are doing stuff all over the map, and there are a bunch of these different companies, and some of them are going to need your help. Go help them. Go be involved. Go make new friends. And that's awesome. That's very engaging. That's very much why I want to play an MMO. I want to meet new people. I want to make new friends. I want to build a cool community.
Yeah.
So I think it's ticking some very good boxes. So
I agree.
Okay, let's get on topic. Today's feature review is all about the crafting and the economics of New World. So let's kind of go over what that looks like to start us off. So you have three. Let's talk about the core mechanics of New World. Let's start there. Number one, there's no vendors. If you want to buy ammunition, you either got to build it or you got to buy it from someone else. If you have junk in your inventory that you've got from looting monsters and picking up various stuff while you're out and about, you either need to sell it, salvage it, which is something that you use to repair your other gear, or trade it away. That's what you do with everything inside New World. So nearly all the gear, consumables, all these things are player driven. This is a very heavily player driven economy. Number two core mechanic is they are localized trade hubs. So in each territory has its own trading post for itself. It's not shared between the other territories. So that's important to know because it pairs really well with this last point I want to bring up, is that there is a tiered progression system. So you've got, to put this real plainly, you've got tier 1. You go collect tier 1 goods, you refine them into tier 1 commodities, and then you craft them at tier 1 stations. So now you're leveling up, and now you hit tier 2, and you start to gather tier 2 materials, then you refine them at a tier 2 station into tier 2 goods, and then you go craft them into tier 2 whatever, maybe armor, weapons, whatever, at a tier 2 crafting center. So what's most important is with this tiered system is it requires the territory that you're in to have the necessary tiered that you're working on. So let's say you're doing engineering. Workstation, yeah, thank you. Yeah. Let's say you're a weaponsmith and you're making swords. Boom, you're making a ton of them. But the people who are managing your territory, maybe they're the same faction, maybe they're a different faction, may not make the weaponsmithing craft workshop a priority. And it never gets above a tier 2. So now you've got to make the decision, do you move on to greener pastures, or do you try and encourage the people who are there to upgrade that weaponsmithing because you're ready for tier 3 and you got to make those decisions. Really interesting things that are happening here. So,
an example of that, I'll just butt in and say,
yeah,
an example
go
of
ahead.
that
Yes.
is I have to make steel cartridges for my musket, and I only want to make steel cartridges,
which is a tier 3, which is a tier 3
it's
munition.
Tier 3, and that requires a tier 3. What's it called? Workstation or work. What do they call it? Is like the engineering table. Anyway, it's where you can build muskets and bows and
workshop.
The workshop. That's the workshop.
Yep.
So it requires a tier 3 workshop. And the territory, we decided, hey, we're gonna park our, this is where we're gonna main it for the duration of the beta and try to potentially undermine it. The current owners of that territory have not upgraded that at all for the past week, and it's been frustrating because I have
What did they upgrade?
Oh, I can't remember.
They picked something else.
Nothing I really needed. So it's been the workshop that I was more concerned about because that's the one I'm consistently needing so I've had to travel, back to Everfall or some, mostly Everfall is where I've been going, and then to just to make my cartridges, and then I come back. But no, they've been focusing on other things. Now I will say, I think just today they finally got it upgraded. So I noticed that it is upgraded today. So it takes time, and we were talking about that. That's part of going to the community boards and seeing what they're trying to upgrade and doing quests to essentially upgrade that workstation, that whatever, whether it's the workshop or the smithy or or the smelter, right? So that it'll have a little option there saying, hey, do one of these 3 quests or all 3 of these quests to upgrade this particular workstation, and then that's how it gets upgraded. But I think there's some management behind the scenes where they have to. I noticed all the bars were full at one point, but nothing was being upgraded. Right? They still hadn't been upgraded, so it's like you have to wait for the governor to come in and finalize those upgrades, and then put out new goals, new projects. Thank you. That's the word I was looking for. So yeah. Anyway, it's fascinating, and you can definitely see. I've seen this, and we were just talking about this. I've seen the difference between a mismanaged territory and a well-managed territory, or poorly managed versus a well-managed. I can, the guys that are controlling the Everfall territory in our server are doing a pretty dang good job, right? But over at First Light, where we are, it has been struggling. At least that's what it seems to me.
No, I think that's fair. And I think what this has done is it's given us a really interesting... I think the number one thing that we thought before the beta would be the big deciding factors, like, oh, what if they have high taxes? Or what if they have, a really high trading rate or a crafting fee? But that really hasn't been the deciding factor about which territories I prefer to go to.
You barely notice that, honestly. I mean,
you barely notice it
yet.
In comparison. Yeah, agreed. You barely notice it in comparison to the crafting, the tier crafting that's available.
Yeah, I agree.
So what this has done, though, to counter that, it has also opened up opportunities to make good money. Because if you're making that tier 3 ammunition, right? And you're like, hey, I need steel cartridges. I'm making a ton of them. I make them all up in Everfall. I come back down to First Light, which has no access to tier 3 cartridges. You can't make them here.
So you sell them there.
You sell them.
Yeah.
And you make a good chunk of change because the people in First Light want steel cartridges. They don't want to run up to Everfall. They don't want to go craft their own. It's a pain in the neck.
Right.
So that has been a good money-making opportunity. My own experiences is I was very quick to get into steel. So you do gathering, refining, and crafting. And so I was able to refine steel pretty quick. And I said, you know what? I'm going to make steel tools because I think that's going to be a pretty hot market. Everybody's going to want to upgrade their tools eventually. So I ran up to Everfall, which had the tier 3 workshop, crafted a bunch of them, ran down, and they were selling for $750 a piece. Once it hit the tier 3 crafting station, though, it dropped dramatically.
Right.
The price of the pegs. So now I got an idea, and hey, because you're listening to the podcast now, you can have this. This is a free. So
free economic.
You just don't do it if you're confident. Yeah. Is I'm gonna as quickly as I can get up there, and then just go sell my wares at different places that I'm like, okay, Cutlass Keys doesn't have a tier 2. It's a higher level zone. They don't have a tier 2 crafting station. I'm going to haul a bunch of goods over there and go sell them.
Yeah, yeah. No,
dun, 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 dun. Make a ton of change. I got the best house on the block. I'm a happy camper.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. And I love that about player-driven economies in games. I was just talking to another buddy that we both know, goes by Snowman, and he said he made like 10K over the weekend by manipulating the markets in the game and buying certain things at low prices, selling them at high prices in a different area. You can make that work if you want to play that kind of game, and that's awesome. I love that you can do that in this game.
And what this also allows is some cool other opportunities. So I mentioned this before, but here's a vision I have for the crafting and economic system within New World. And man, if you have a word in with a developer, tell them this because I really want them to know. Here's what I want. I want mounts in New World, but The only mounts is actually a companion, like a donkey, that follows behind you.
Right.
And you can load this burro up with a bunch of different goods, refined goods, whatever. It's got a weight limit. You chuck it all on there, and it can move massive amounts of goods. Awesome. Exciting. Here's the catch. That donkey can be killed and looted by anybody. It is permanently flagged for PvP. So if you want to move a ton of goods from First Light to Everfall, because you're like, hey, we're making this our new home, you get a merchant band together, grab your donkey, and say, hey guys, I'm moving goods. I need as many people from my company. We're making this big move tonight in the dead of night when no one's on, so that we're not going to get attacked, and we're going to move it from A to B. I think that'd be really fun. I think that'd be a really, really great interaction, and it would fit really well with a New World.
I agree,
but that's not going to be a part of.
I don't think so.
Oh no, you don't. You don't agree.
No, I do agree that would be awesome. I like that idea. The problem is you can fast travel in New World, so there's nothing stopping you from just loading up your character to max capacity and teleporting with Azoth to the territory you want to go to.
If you have copious amounts of Azoth, that's true.
But so far,
that's true.
Well, right, and so far, and we were just talking about this, I have not even been close to running out of Azoth. I could probably make 10 trips, just between two different territories without running out of Azoth. I haven't done the exact math yet, but I haven't run out yet. I haven't been even close, so I don't. Anyway, I agree with you. That would be cool, and there should be some form of fast travel in the game. You don't want to have to run across the entire map. Doing the main mission quest has been enough to show us like, oh gosh, we got to go all travel from here to A to B across the map, and it can be annoying. But so some form of fast travel is good, but maybe limit it more, and mounts, like you said. Traveling companions that can carry stuff. That would be cool. That would be interesting. It reminds me of what was that MMO that we that reminds me. Eve, yeah, okay, Eve, of course. Eve but there was another one that Albion Online that you have mounts that can carry.
Right,
goods.
That had a very similar system.
Yeah, very similar.
Yeah,
I liked it. I think that's great. Was there fast traveling in Albion?
Yeah.
I didn't play it that much.
I don't. There might have been, but it had a really heavy cost if you did it.
Yeah,
and you didn't want to do it. You didn't want to do it if you were hauling a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It was like exorbitant. It was like really exponential on that price.
I think that would fit great in New World. I agree with you. I think that would be cool seeing groups of people traveling together, carrying like on a wagon, trail, carrying goods from one place to another. And does it seem? And here's a question, a little off topic, but not really. Does it seem to you that some territories are more abundant in a specific type of resource than others? Have you noticed that at all, or is that just me?
I feel like it's that way.
Yes.
Well, I want to say yes.
Okay, I'll just say that I noticed in Everfall, I noticed that there's very little hemp. In fact, I saw people all the time saying, "Where the heck is hemp?" Because Everfall, a lot of people started in Everfall, and where's the hemp? And there was like one spot that I've seen in Everfall, that is by a farm that has one hemp node, like literally one node, and then maybe one more in a forest somewhere. But then I go down to Windsward, and it's everywhere in Windsward, right?
Yes, it is.
It is.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
And if that's the case, if that really is if they've balanced it so certain territories have a more abundance of a specific resource than others, I'm all for that. I think that's awesome. And it would encourage the same type of idea of, hey, you collect things here, you collect hemp in Windsward, and you're traveling all the way up to Brightwood or all the way down to Cutlass Keys to sell it because it's not so abundant in those areas. Like that would require maybe a mount type situation, and it would be cool. But you can kind of do that now without the mount. Like we said, you can fast travel, but I agree with you. I think that would be a cool aspect of it.
Hey, this is a suggestion from our community from here on Twitch. We can just use Ruko as our donkey. We'll just load him up with stuff and make him run it for us.
That's got to be.
I guess we got it. That's Snowman giving us that suggestion.
Oh, okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that makes fun. I was like, it's got to be someone that knows Ruko, because that is like the perfect suggestion. Oh, I can't wait for him to hear that.
So I actually think when you made that comment there, though, about how could there be different nodes in different territories, even if there was an equal distribution of all the nodes in Everfall and in First Light and all these places, if someone has upgraded the crafting bench for let's say wood. Let's say they've upgraded it to tier 3, then the resources around there are going to get drained much faster than they will in First Light if it's still got a tier 1 wood workshop.
Right.
So I think that what you want there is going to happen naturally.
Right. That's a good point. But I do still think they're not equally balanced across which I think is a good thing across territories.
I think you're right. Whenever I go visit when you do the main storyline, you end up visiting this guy called Giannis.
Yeah.
And whenever I go visit him, I take a quick lap around because there's so much freaking hemp. And when you kill the buffalo, there's so much leather on them.
Oh, yeah.
So and it's a fishing spot, which now that I'm a legendary fisherman, I will be going to go fish.
Well, don't get too far ahead of yourself there. But I will say, speaking of workstations, right? Tiered workstations. One thing that we do know is they'll be in a constant state of flux because of territory. If you don't upkeep,
and
invasions and wars are going to constantly change the tier levels of a territory. So maybe even that could encourage some sort of stability in some territories, is because they have maximum upgraded tiers for their workstations. What is the maximum tier? Is it 5?
It's got to be 5. I'm almost positive it's 5.
Okay.
Tier 5 right now is the highest tier.
Yeah. Okay.
At launch, it'll be the highest tier. But this actually makes me nervous, though, because we're playing in First Light and we have an upcoming invasion. And if we lose the invasion, and you know that this company is going to preference their own faction and their own company first.
Yeah.
But if we lose this invasion, then the tier 3 workshop that we have, the tier 3 blacksmithing station are all going to get downgraded.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know how much it gets downgraded, but I almost want them to lose just so I can find out.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm interested to see. Because we know they'll be downgraded somewhat. We don't know how much or how many.
Is it like 5 different ones get downgraded once, or does everything get downgraded one?
Right.
That would be brutal. That would be rough.
Yeah, that's interesting. I can't even remember. There's so much going on when Everfall is the first one to have a war and fall to a new faction. I don't even remember what happened because I wasn't I didn't think about checking, and I should have, but there's just too much going on.
Yeah.
I was just worried about doing the main quest and doing some PvP. Anyway.
Another little fun update is that even Cutlass Keys, which is right next to us in First Light, is almost going to be overthrown by Marauders. So this provides an opportunity if this upcoming invasion, if they lose it and those things get downgraded, I'm packing up shop and I'm just going to go over to Cutlass Keys.
Oh,
I haven't bought a house yet. And Cutlass Keys is a higher level area. That one to me, So, and I like that. I like that we have to have these conversations and make these decisions and talk to our company and be like, guys,
right.
We said we want to set up shop here. It's not going very well. Let's head out.
Well, it's funny because we kind of made the decision to go to First Light on a whim, but when we made the decision, it was still open. No one had controlled it yet or bought it, and we went there and we thought, hey, this territory looks cool. It's a really cool looking territory. But then after being there and using that as our main hub for a while, we've come to see a lot of flaws and a lot of things we don't like about First Light. And so, come launch, we'll probably choose a different territory to go for first. But that's been fun seeing that with the beta and seeing what territory, the differences between the territories and whatnot. So here's the thing is if it was actually practical to have, if this game was designed that, it would make sense to have a really good well-positioned settlement and fort. I think First Light is one of the best territories for that because the settlement's all the way down at the very bottom of the territory on the farthest south border, and the fort is on an island kind of you have to cross a bridge.
There's only like 3 different ways over, maybe 4.
Right.
But they're really narrow, and it's like you could guard those points if you had to,
if that was important in this game. If the wars actually took place in the territories themselves, then that would be really cool. And that's one reason why you'd go for First Light. But since that's not the case, it just comes a hassle because you spawn all the way at the south. And then if you ever get quests in First Light, it's not worth it because some of them are all the way back up at the very top of the territory. And you have to run up there. Anyway, that's just one of a few complaints I have about the territory. But...
Okay, so
but it makes it fun.
My turn for complaints.
Yeah, go ahead.
It does make it fun.
It makes it
All
fun.
right, so
like seeing. I'll just say this: it makes it fun seeing the differences and figuring out what you like. And like you said, deciding, man, should we move because of this and that. Anyway, I love those decisions in the game.
Yeah, and it'll be interesting too once we've launched, because right now we have the luxury of saying, hey, First Light's been great, we love it aesthetically, but you know what? It's just not a fit for our company and our ambitions for the long term, mid game, end game stuff.
Yeah.
So we're going to make a change.
Yeah.
When we hit launch, though, everybody else will have an opportunity to rethink this. Say, okay, where do we want to go? What faction do we want to be? What did we like? What didn't we like? And then it'll kind of like, this time, if you want to move, it's going to be far more punishing as a company to say, hey, everybody, we're moving from First Light up to Everfall.
Yeah.
Oh, crap. I got to haul my stuff up there? Are you kidding me? So it'll have... I'm glad that we have this closed beta to kind of suss things out, make decisions.
Yeah.
But I want to talk about a couple of issues that I have with this crafting system. Now, I want to preface this with the fact that I really enjoy the crafting system so far. I think it's got enough depth to it that I can enjoy it. When I'm crafting, it's got enough intrigue that when I'm out looking and I find something new, I'm like, ooh, I wonder what I can make with this. I really am enjoying the crafting, the gathering, the refining, the crafting, and I'm kind of picking what I want to do. And I've kind of chosen that engineering shtick as well. But I got a couple of issues. Issue number 1 is there's no... And both of these issues come back to a common theme. So I'm going to say them both. Number 1, there's no mailing system. I can't send you goods when you're offline.
Yeah.
I can't make up a bunch of lumber. I can't go just farm the crap out of a forest and send it off to BigPapa, who's a really good refiner. Can't do that. Okay, I have an issue with that. Okay, so... my backup then, if there's no mailing system, would be to use the shared inventory like a guild bank. There is no shared inventory like a guild bank. There is no company shared inventory. And that makes it difficult to find ways to build a company where different members can specialize in different fields. And we can have a real cohesive company with people who are different professions.
Yeah.
I would really, really like, and honestly, I think the majority of my complaints about the beta have been with how much flexibility, how much control, how much stewardship you have over your own company. Everything from changing the name of the different roles you can assign to your company,
the rankings,
to having something like this is kind of a bummer, because I would really like it if I found out that BigPapa, because he's building a ton of cartridges. Well, if he's building a ton of cartridges, then he's going to be able to make the arrows that I need, no problem. So it'd be really nice if I could focus on just sending him the materials to make, and say, hey, whenever I send you materials, please turn them into arrows and send them back. You get the XP for it, I get the arrows. Win-win. And then on the flip side, I'm going to go deep into alchemy. So you send me all the materials you get from gathering, and I'll craft you potions, and I'll send them back. And I want that so much. And we have all these pieces, but that one element, the one element to send goods to other people offline.
Yep.
So that has been frustrating. And we've even had people inside the company say, hey, are we going to make like a spreadsheet so we can say, hey, who's doing what skills? Who could we send stuff to? Yeah, I could go through the effort and build that. But it doesn't mean jack if they're not online and they're not in the same territory as you are. And, so that's kind of frustrating. Yeah. Now, I understand that with a mailing system, that's going to get difficult, because if I'm using a mailing system and I want to send somebody in Reekwater my lumber that I've crafted in First Light, then I've suddenly created massive imbalance in the economy. But you can easily fix that by tying an Azoth cost to it as you were fast traveling.
And a delay.
Give it the same cost and a delay. And
yep.
You could even just localize it and say, hey, we've picked a company town. It says, okay, what's your base for the company? Oh, it's First Light? Great. Here's one box. This box is just for your company, and inside you can store stuff.
Yeah.
And so Done. Perfect. Great.
I agree.
So I really, really want that in the game because I love the crafting system. I love the economics. And the way that I can make that so much better is the way I want to make it so much better is by working with the other guys in my company to be like, you be the engineer, you be the blacksmith, I'll be the alchemist, and we're going to make a boatload of cash and we'll help each other out really easily. Right now, it's kind of like, okay, I kind of got to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
I really need more potions, so I guess I'm not going to buy them. So I guess I got to go gather that, and then I'm going to go refine it, and then I'm going to go turn it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of steps that are happening there, which is kind of frustrating.
Well, that was one of the concerns I voiced in, like, I think our very first episode was, the fact that you can learn everything, every sort of profession, every sort of crafting profession, whatever you want, the trade skills. I was worried that you would end up wanting to just do everything, and you would not see a lot of specialization. I think in this game, with what I've seen so far, I think it's going to be beneficial to specialize, like you were saying. But it would be so much easier if you could allow the easy trading like that when people are offline. Even in game, the trading between players is kind of a little janky right now. I've already seen a few little glitches trying to trade.
I haven't even done a trade yet.
Oh man, and it takes so many clicks to finalize the trade. It's kind of annoying. I wish it was a little smoother. Maybe that's just a minor thing, but I that's what I've noticed, and it's annoying to trade with someone. But I agree with you. I think there's a lot of room for improvement as far as the transferring of goods in this game, or even just a company bank would be so nice, but that's not the case right now. And you were talking about, like sending, some of the issues with the mail. Like we said, let there be a delay, let there be an Azoth cost, or even like we were discussing, it would be cool if you hired people with mounts to go and deliver the goods for you. Like that would be awesome. And
those mounts, you had to be flagged for PvP.
Right. Anyway, I agree with you. Those are some of the things I've seen. The fact that you can't change permissions in the company and the names of the rankings in the company. Those are some things I've seen as well that I've not been a huge fan of. But I think that needs to be addressed before launch. I think that's something they could easily do. Not to the degree we're talking about necessarily, but just, at least a company bank,
Yeah. Now, certainly it's also, worth saying that we are having fun, and this is something that they could put into launch and I'd just be over the moon about it. It's not a core feature for them, and I really want them to polish out a lot of the bugs rather than put in a company bank, because I want people, when they enjoy Aeternum, that they come, then they stay. So, we'll pick and choose our battles, but maybe we build a little list and we say, hey, New World, here's the features that we've seen that would be really, really great to implement into the game. My biggest worry is that the way that they've coded the game, that your inventory couldn't be shared. And that's something that, if that's the case, it's a much bigger ask than we think.
Yeah.
So, and that would be really unfortunate. If it's not, and it's something they can easily implement, and like a patch that just happens 1 month, I'd be over the moon. That'd be really, really great.
Well, I just wonder why they haven't even thought about it. I wonder what the decision making was, because most MMOs, with in-game guilds or group, guilds, whatever you want to call them, most MMOs are going to have some sort of guild bank, or some sort of shared inventory. Yeah. I don't know why, if that was an actual decision they made to not have that, I'm wondering why, or was it overlooked? Anyway, it's a minor.
All right, we're going to cause a storm on Twitter.
We'll
go nuts. Well, we're going to go nuts with it and see if we can get them to say something.
There you go.
Again, it's a minor thing, but something about that whole, since we're on the topic of crafting and the economics of it all, that's a pretty, you hit the nail on the head. That's a standard feature of MMOs. And to not have it feels a little lacking.
Right. Yeah. Well, even the mail, even like we talked about mail, it's been hard for me to, and maybe someone can point us in the right direction, but when I've sold things on the trading post, I rarely, if ever, know when something actually sells.
Yes, we were talking about that. Yeah, go into that.
Yeah, well, I've noticed before while playing that sometimes I'll get a notification as soon as something sells. If I actually notice that, depending on what I'm doing, I might not even notice that. But it would be nice if there was some sort of notification, built-in notification board or a mailing system where you would get notified and you can go through and see when things have been updated.
Give me my freaking receipt.
Right, exactly.
Holy crap, I just want a receipt of my sale.
Instead, you have to go to the trading post and click on the items that have been sold or are no longer, ran out of time on the trading post. Or have expired. That's the word I'm looking for. Anyway, so you have to go in that menu itself and look, and it's, it would be nice if I was getting notifications about it, or, in World of Warcraft, you got mail, and that's actually how you picked up the money. And that's nice because then you're seeing how much you're making for the items. I get a notification that I barely see, and then I'm like, I have to go back and look to see, okay, who bought it and how much was it again? I can't remember, Anyway, that's one issue I've noticed. Maybe I'm missing something, but I haven't seen anything other than that.
Neither have I, and I'm even getting a message here now from the community saying they've even seen their expired items get stuck.
Oh,
that they would expire, and then they're kind of lost to the nether.
Ruka was talking about that last episode.
That makes it even more frustrating because you don't have a receipt of that. You can't track that at all from where that good went. So that's really frustrating. Even the trading outpost needs some love. It is pretty intuitive just to click and find what I'm looking for. So freaking easy, and I love that. If I want, if I'm looking for the ingredient to a specific thing, it's really easy to get to the exact item that I want.
Right. And I love
the downside.
I love buy orders too. I love that they have that as a
Yep.
Anyway, go ahead.
I agree. The big downside of this though is the fact that posting is a nightmare. I went on and said, you know what? All these little so you have these pieces that drop that you can socket or you can craft with, and it'll give a piece of gear or it'll give a weapon a specific boon. So maybe it'll give it like extra dexterity, or it'll give you intelligence and focus, or maybe it even gives extra, whatever, these different effects. Cool. I'm not really making a lot of gear. I don't need this right now. And there's certainly ones like strength that I will never use to craft because I'm going with a very strong dex build. So I was gonna offload them all.
Yeah.
But posting a ton of stuff was so tedious.
Yeah.
It was so tedious.
I noticed that too. It's so many clicks to do it.
Each post was like 5 or 6 different clicks.
That's frustrating.
And adjusting my price, posting it, and then it wouldn't save any of the information last one. I had to adjust. I don't want to post it for 14 days.
Right.
The beta doesn't last 14 more days. I just want to post it for 3 days and see how it does. If it does, it comes back to my inventory. Awesome. Maybe I'll give it to someone in my company. That was... See, because Ruko's here, I'm really ranting today, dude. I'm really going for it. Yeah. But I just think that this aspect of it, this is an aspect of New World that I really enjoy. I really like crafting. I like making my own gear. I like finding an armor set that I think is really cool and putting in the time and effort to be able to make it for myself. And sometimes that means my gear score is lower than other people's gear score. Sometimes that means whatever. I enjoy the journey of getting this cool stuff, building it the way I want to, and then selling the excess and making some good money.
Yeah.
And these parts that are lacking are really rubbing me the right way. And I know that for other people, there's stuff about the combat that really rubs them the right way. Like the fact that you can't cancel an animation. I actually like that. I like that when someone does an animation, like laying a trap, it takes a while and you have to commit to that to lay the trap. I like that because then I can catch you out with my spear and hit you with 3 times with my red, and now I'm dealing a ton of damage. So everyone's got their own little niche things that are really important to them. And this is just one of those that are mine.
Right. So. Yeah. Well, okay. And before we switch gears here, just one little thing. What do you think about the repairing system that they have in place? What do you think about that?
I love it.
You do. Tell me why.
Freaking love it.
I don't know because it's kind of it feels different from what I've seen in other games.
Okay.
What do you?
My first impression was lackluster because I was like, oh man, I got this like gear and I don't need to use it. So, and I guess I'll just salvage it and I'll get like what? A dime back and 2 repair points. Yeah. Oh, that makes looting some gear feel a little less exciting. I'd like it more if when I salvaged it, I got like some of the crafting components back from it. But that only happens if you've crafted it yourself.
Well, that's the normal thing you see in these kind of games. Anyway.
Yeah, so that was my initial frustration. But then what I love is that repairing is no big deal. I've got plenty of repair points on me. If I get really knocked around in PvP and all my stuff breaks, I can repair it up, no problem, no extra cost. It's not a money sink. I don't have to go to a specific spot. It's already in my inventory. I can fix that up, no problem. Yeah. It delays me, sure, and it holds me back a little bit, but I really, really like that. I like how it's not a big deal. I don't have to go find a repair person. That's a chore. To me, that's just a chore. I like just being able to repair. I wish salvaging stuff was a little more exciting. Like, I wish when I salvage something green, there was a chance that something green would drop out of it. Like, if that green item had the buff that like gives you extra, whatever. Because they're not always attributes that it gives you. Sometimes it's like, oh, with this one, when you're shooting an arrow and you do that evading shot, the evading shot gives you an extra meter when you shoot. Cool. Pop some of that back to me. Let me have a chance that I can get it when I salvage it. Because nothing sucks more than getting a really awesome Warhammer that's got all these great stats. I was like, I can try and sell this, but it's not going to sell because it's worth 25 cents. Or I can salvage it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I'm with you.
But ultimately, I'm really, really enjoying it.
It's easy. But it's also simplistic. And it doesn't feel rewarding when you do it, but it's easy, and that's bottom line is like maybe that's the best overall thing for repairing.
It is easy, and here just mentioned by our community is they say it also costs money, and it prevents you from over exploiting the respawn to teleport since you're damaging your items over and over again. So it does have a cost associated to it when you die.
Oh,
that does feel pretty meaningful. When every time you die, everything you have takes a hit or a durability hit. Yeah. It costs you not only the salvage points that you've racked up, but also some gold as well. So, or whatever it's called in this. Is it gold? Whatever it is. Coin.
I can't remember.
Pretty sure it's coin. Yeah. So. Yeah. All right, let's move on to our next topic. I'll get off my soapbox. So our new topic is actually a new segment that we want to do, Stories from Aeternum. And I've got the first story, and you're going to take the second story. So the attack on First Light Fort, I want you to take that story, if you're good with that. While I tell my legend... Here's the honest truth. I have been fishing many times in my life, and I have always been extremely underwhelmed. I don't think I've ever caught anything in real life.
Oh wow!
I think I snagged my rod once really, really bad. I'm not a fisher. Fishers don't like to eat my what? I even had one time where I snagged my rod really, really bad. I handed it to my buddy. He's like, I don't know. I freaking snagged it again. Here, just take it. And I walked away, and he's like, dude, you got a fish. And he reeled it in for me, and I was like, oh, that looked like that was exciting. Bummer. So I've never been a fan of fishing. Even when they introduced fishing into CFD, it's like, oh, that's kind of fun. I fished for a session or two. I was like, all right, I'm over it. Well, I didn't do any of the fishing in alpha because screw fishing. I don't want to do fishing. But just an hour before we started to hit record, I said, all right, whatever. I'm just going to pop into this pond. BigPapa had walked off to get a drink of water or whatever he's doing. I dropped my fishing line in. Mind you, I've got a tier 2 fishing pole. And catch one thing, it's like a minnow, whatever. All right, great. Boring. All right, fish again. This time, I catch a legendary fish. I'm not even kidding. It's a tier 5 fish. And I look it up. Let me see, actually. It's in my inventory right now. I got my game open. It's called an albinaja. Whatever the heck that is.
Sounds legendary.
Fishing over in First Light. It's this funky looking fish. And I'm going to read the flavor text. A very rare, legendary creature of the sea. Oh, yeah. Now we're talking. Can be used in cooking to produce powerful, enhancing foods. And I'm like, sweet. It's tier 5. I wonder what I can do with this. Look it up. Dude, if you cook this fish, and you eat it, it will give you a buff of plus 40 dexterity for 40 minutes. Now, I just want to emphasize how impactful that is, okay? I'm level 23, and I have spent, let's see, how many points have I spent? I've committed, at level 23, and I dumped most of my points into dexterity. Up to 47 points of that is in dexterity. If I ate this fish, it would double the amount of dexterity I had for 40 minutes.
Yeah.
That's so cool. And I was like, I guess I'm going to go fishing. Like, toss my line in. And actually, the fishing's actually pretty cool. It's actually pretty fun.
I was going to ask, what do you think about the mechanics of it? Because I haven't done fishing yet, but I've heard that it's a really good, that New World's a great fishing simulator.
It's way better than World of Warcraft. It's way better than Sea of Thieves. And I love the guys over at Sea of Thieves at Rare, so don't get me wrong. But I'm not just, it's good.
Yeah,
it's good. Go do it. Yep, go do it.
Fair enough.
Right after we're done with this, I'll take you out fishing, son. I'll tell you all about the catch that I got.
Well,
this is never gonna happen again. I'm gonna fish like a million more times now that I caught besides
right.
Jack.
No, seriously. Well, it's funny because a lot of people really enjoy fishing in games, especially like in MMOs. I remember reading one time about a post, I think it was on Reddit or something, about how a guy used to go fishing with his dad in real life all the time. And then his dad died, something. Yeah, it was pretty sad. But he said, he discovered RuneScape and was able to go fishing with his uncle, who he also fished with, who lived in another state, but they were able to fish in RuneScape together, and it was just like a fun pastime for them in the game. And, it's relaxing. It's, I could see a lot of the benefits of doing that, especially with people who you're close to or friends with, but yeah, the mechanics in this game look really good for fishing from what I've seen. I haven't done it yet. It's
got like a tension system to it. So basically you can bait your hook, which by the way, no bait on my hook, just a freaking raw hook hanging out there. I probably caught this thing as it was swimming by, but no bait on it. You pour some bait, you toss it out, you wait. It'll give you a little prompt that says, "Oh, get ready." Your little bobber starts to shake, and then it'll give you. Imagine like Dead by Daylight when there's a time for an action, you got to hit a button pretty quick before the circle kind of goes around. There's a thing that's similar to that. You got to click it before. You got to do that. I think it's just a click, and then. There's like a tension gauge, and you reel it in, and this tension kind of gets heavier, and you got to like let go before it snaps. It snaps, and so you kind of let the fish back out, and then once you got more tension, you start to reel it back in, and you kind of have this little, you kind of have a tug of war with the fish, and that's pretty cool.
Pretty realistic.
I fished again right after I got the legendary, and that one was much harder to catch. And I was like, dude, this legendary fish is a chump. I got this sucker. I probably hooked him when he wasn't expecting it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right,
stories from Aeternum.
Yeah, so I'll just share, what was it, 2 nights ago? Anyway, we decided we'd get in a group with some guys in the company, and we'd go out and do PvP missions. So we decided we'd take the First Light Fort first, because we've discovered that taking a fort gives a pretty decent buff to undermining or putting like your 20%.
Influence. It's pretty significant.
20. I thought it was. Yeah. I think it was 20%, but it's significant. Like if you don't have that buff, then there's like you're missing out on a ton of influence putting towards that territory. So it's a pretty big deal taking that fort, and that's something I didn't realize right away in the game. I saw, there's forts in the game. I wonder what they're for. Well, you go in there and you take it. You sit in a little ring for a couple minutes, and the more people there, the faster it goes, and then eventually you'll capture the fort for your faction. Anyway, we did that. We went out, and we were kind of waiting for people to gather up, and while we were waiting, we're like, hey, let's do this corrupted portal. So we started doing this big corrupted portal as a group, and lo and behold, there was another PvP group there. And so it turned out
we must have tagged the fort or something, because when you tag it, it says the fort's under attack.
Oh,
so we had gone there, I think, and we were like waiting for something. We had kind of come back. I can't remember, but we had definitely given away our position, and they were after us.
Right. Well, so there was a couple. We went back and forth, right? So, but I think the funnest moment that I had was there were 2 moments. One, when we were fighting at the corrupted portal, and there were other PvP groups there, and we were balancing between killing the NPCs at the portal and trying to defend ourselves against the players, because you die and it like resets your the amount of progress you put into the corrupted portal. So
yes. And just to add to it before you go on, the attacker always has an advantage, because when you are fighting inside a corrupted zone, a heavy fog of war drops over you.
Yeah.
So people outside can see you fighting inside, but you can't see out. So as an attacker, you have a huge advantage to get the drop on another group of players who are flat for PvP and taking.
Not to mention, they don't notice you. Not to mention, they are fighting NPCs who are potentially doing damage to them. I mean,
they're completely
right. You can catch people totally off guard. So we were caught off guard, and we ended up going. We had set a campfire or a campsite down near the portal so we could spawn close, but they had done the same thing. So it must have been at least 3 times that some of us died, we respawned, killed them, they died, they respawned, came back and tried to fight us, and we ended up coming out on top and getting the portal and defeating them at the same time. And it was maybe about a half hour, and it was a blast. It was an absolute blast to kill NPCs, switch targets to PvP players because suddenly there's PvP players around you. And we had I think the only guy that survived the entire time was Snowman, who's a healer, and he was healing us from the back, and he was able to run away whenever some of us died and had to respawn, and it was just a fun time, but we ended up dominating them. The other moment was when we finally finished that and we started doing some of the PvP missions. We had a lot of fun killing people. The fort got taken again. So we ran back to the fort. We had just taken the fort again because it was recaptured. We were running back to the teleporter to teleport to the settlement to get the new PvP missions. And right before we got to the portal, or to the Azoth portal, whatever they're called, the fort was suddenly being captured again. Do you remember that? Were you there for that?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I remember at one point you had to leave. But anyway, the fort was under conflict again. So we're like, someone just snuck back in there after we had just left. So we all turned around and we got up to the gate, and you have to hold E to get in. So they don't see you unless someone goes up on the ramparts and looks out.
On the ramparts, yeah.
So we go up to the main gate. We're all like, okay, we're going to go up to the main gate. We're all going to wait till we're all there, and we're all going to press E at the same time. All right, 3, 2, 1. So there was a group of 7 of us that just charged in through the main gate, and on the other side we didn't know what to expect. Sure enough, there was only one lonely, I think he was Syndicate, one lonely Syndicate dude just sitting there, and we all came out of that gate at the same time, and he was just melted. But I could imagine being him, watching that gate and seeing 7 people suddenly teleport on the other side of the gate. I hope he crapped his pants.
First time that we even went to that fort, even the first time we went to the fort, we got set up on the other side, and we got into a firing line, bows and muskets drawn, ready for someone to come through that gate. So we just started pelting them, and then eventually we got bored and started moving on. But that poor soul, we're all just and everyone's using abilities. That guy didn't say that.
Man, and let me just say, since we're on the topic, the PvP in this game is so much fun. Even today, just before we recorded, we got on the game and we were like, let's flag for PvP and go do a couple quests, maybe go do a couple corrupted portals. And so we went out, and there's plenty of people out there. You'll find lower level people, higher level people, people with larger groups, people with smaller groups. And we went out, and there was one guy in particular, Piotr, I think was his name. Anyway, he kept.
Oh, you're calling him out.
He had a death wish. I'm calling him out.
We wrote your name down.
But he had a death wish because he never once killed us, and we got him at least 3 times. He just kept respawning and coming back for us, and we kept taking him out. I tell you one thing, it's so satisfying playing a musket and getting a headshot for 600 damage. I have a blue musket now, and it just melts people, and they're trying to run away.
I'm jealous.
And they have a quarter health left, and I get a headshot from 40 yards or however far they are, and just dead. And I love it. It's so satisfying, and also scary.
I really like the musket. I went bow, then I went to musket, and then went back to bow. And the reason I went back to bow, though, is that the reload time on the musket is far longer than it is on the bow. 2, I can shoot stuff way further away than you can with the musket.
Fair enough.
Because your bullets eventually fall off. At least I think.
I haven't noticed.
But with the bow,
I haven't noticed it fall off.
If I got my arc down just right.
Yeah.
Man.
But that's a projectile. So there are a couple of interesting differences. The bow, you have to lead because it's a projectile missile. Whereas with the musket, it's hit scan. So you just have to get your reticle on them and pull the trigger. No matter how far away it's going to hit them.
Well, then you got to reload. Are you using power shot or overloading shot?
So I have an overload shot in the trapper tree that I do use, but it just does a knockback. There is I don't know. Is that what you're talking about?
Powder burn is the one I was talking about. I really liked powder burn.
Yeah, the one that applies a dot.
Yeah, it applies a dot, and then if you get a headshot, it's like it extends the burn for 13 extra seconds and it deals extra damage, I think.
Yeah, I think that's in the other tree. If that's anyway, it's fun. it's a lot of fun.
Yeah,
And I'll tell you one thing.
So you're going heavy trapper tree? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah, I went heavy trapper.
Gotcha.
Yeah. I'll say this: if you are alone, flagged for PvP, good luck, because I mean, unless the people you come across in a group are much lower level than you, it can be difficult to to handle an entire group in this game by yourself. That's what I've seen being part of a group. That's what I've seen being alone, facing a group. Generally, if I see multiple people, it's hard. It's hard to survive that. But so this game encourages that group content. You know,
it does, and isn't that nice? Isn't that refreshing?
It is nice. It's great.
All right, so we are getting short on time, but I want to hit this last opinion segment before we roll out for today. So we'll be brief on this last point, but I wanted to pick your brain, BigPapa, so there are big things you can do in New World. You can take over territories, you fight back the corrupted, and that feels really, you can take territories away from other people. That's really, really cool. But as an individual contributor, can you make a meaningful impact in the world? And as I've been playing, even just like affecting local markets, influencing territories, as I've been playing and as we've kind of been leading our company, I've noticed that getting a group together and, you know, if you're going to flip a territory, there's a lot of dedication that it takes to get that done.
Yeah.
You got to have a good group of guys that are getting on pretty much every night for a few nights and pushing that bar. Or maybe you're convincing the whole faction, hey, we're pushing here. We're going to hold it. You guys come help. Do you feel like you can make a meaningful impact? You, BigPapa, can you make the meaningful impact in New World?
I think I can when it comes to the free market, the economy. I think an individual can actually make a pretty decent impact on the markets, and just from what I've seen, from what I've heard from other players, from what I've seen myself, that feels pretty satisfying. Just because, and also, and part of that is the fact that, you know, there's local markets to each territory.
Yeah.
So I think you can feel pretty like you're making a big impact as an individual when it comes to the economy. When it comes to undermining a territory, so far I don't think an individual can do that very successfully unless they sink a lot of time into it.
Or even a small company.
I mean, we need to test this out still. This is something we tried once, but it was a small group, and we did a couple PvP missions, and we didn't even make a dent in the influence towards undermining that territory. But then we learned, okay, you want to take the fort. So there's a few things we've learned since that we still need to test out. But just seeing how much it takes to really do that, I don't think an individual can really make that big of an impact to undermining a territory. And with that comes a couple things that I've won, right? Doing PvP missions alone is hard, especially when groups are out there. And two, the other thing I'd say is the PvP missions get a little stale because they're always the same. So you're going back to the territory, refreshing the same PvP missions, going back out, doing those, coming back to the territory, you know, and there's a big cost to dying on your way back, because if you die at all while you're flagged for PvP,
you lose all your
progress towards those missions. Now, there's only 3 of them you can get at a time, but like I said, they're stale. They're always the same, and I wish there was some variety. I wish, and maybe this is something I don't know, but do you contribute influence towards it by just killing people that are flagged for PvP? I don't think so. You do, but that would be awesome if, like,
I think you have to be doing the PvP missions.
Let's say there's government. Well, I'll just say this. Let's say there's a Covenant-controlled territory. If I'm flagged for PvP and I see Covenant members, I wish I could just kill them and contribute more that way too. But yeah, I would say this as an individual. I'm not seeing that you can do too much in that regard.
Or even as a small company.
As a small company,
it's really
hard.
difficult.
Which
I would almost recommend that if you were in our position, like let's say you're our company, like we have ambitions to grow to much more people, but where we're at right now, I would almost say, hey, Cutlass Keys actually has a really strong push going for Marauders. Let's go over there and start helping, because if we help and do some PvP missions, we have a chance of becoming the Vanguard.
Right.
So you can kind of like ride coattails, but the grandeur of saying, hey, you can take territories with your buddies is a little more difficult to come after. And I think that comes down to server population size. When there's so many people, it makes the impact of one person that much less important.
And I would say that can be good and bad, right? Because part of me doesn't want an individual to be able to easily undermine a territory. And in fact, the majority of me would say that, right? Because I agree with that. I totally agree. I want organized companies with a good amount of players to be able to have the most success at that and have the best chance of getting Vanguard, because they deserve it, right? It would suck to control a territory and be undermined by one guy. Especially in a short period of time. Now, if it's over, a couple weeks, and fair game. Hey man, you put in that effort. It's all yours. So there's good things to that. I don't necessarily need to feel like I'm making an impact as an individual in that regard. That should be a team thing, in my opinion, and I like that that's encouraged in this game.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Okay, I'm going to wrap us up here. Next episode, beta will be over, and we're going to be having some good conversations. If you have found a good strategy or recommendation that you want to offer up, we're going to share a couple of those in our next episode, kind of talk about what our plans are for launch, what we think is going to work well, and then come hang out with us, come be a part of our company. So, be a part of the conversation. Follow us at Aeternum_radio on Twitter, or join our Discord server in this podcast description. If you want to play with us, you can do so through our Discord, or find our in-game company. Right now we're called Curators Immortalis on the Thule server. Thule server. And we're playing as the Marauders. Come play with us. We're having a good time. We would always love to have more members, both in our Discord, in our community, and in our company. So, that is it from me, Slacker. BigPapa, anything else?
No, just I would say, well, yes. I would say that keep in mind, before launch, we will vote again for which faction we'll play. So, if you're interested in playing with us, maybe don't want to play Marauders, we'll come in and join and participate in that when we do the vote, as well as for the name of the company going into launch. But yeah, we're having a lot of fun, and we have a lot of active players in the company. So we'd like to see more joining us.
So we love, again, I just wanted to give out another thank you to everybody for listening and for participating in our community. We hit a pretty big milestone the other day. I think it was a week or two ago. We hit over 1,000 downloads of our podcast. We have such a good time putting this together, and we're super grateful to our community for listening and supporting us. Interact with us, engage with us. We want to hear your questions, we want to hear your thoughts, do Q&As in the future, and more of the like. So, from us here at Aeternum Radio, I am Slacker. Thank you so much.
And I am BigPapa.
We'll catch you guys next week. You have a good week in the beta.